But first, the news late yesterday that John Anderson is seeking to re-enter Parliament has galvanised Liberal and National Party voters. And I have to confess too, it was a bright light in an otherwise dispiriting few weeks for those on the centre-right of politics. Perhaps it's a bout of nostalgia for the last really stable and effective government we've had, triggered by the 25th anniversary of John Howard's election as Prime Minister. But comments have been pouring into this show and elsewhere, mostly along the lines of thank God that an adult wants to join our public life. After 25 years of comparatively good government and relative stability and prosperity, first under Bob Hawke and then under Howard, the last decade or so has been pretty dismal. Since 2007, we've had 5 Prime Ministers, 5 Treasurers and 5 Foreign Ministers, compared to 1 person in each of those key roles throughout the life of the Howard government. Sure, we have some basis for self-congratulations on how we've handled this pandemic, but overall, I have to say our country seems less safe, our economy less strong, and our people less together than at any time we can remember. So Anderson, the former National Party leader and Deputy Prime Minister for 6 years, he's a reminder of better times when all politicians seemed more principled and more capable, and when the National Party seemed to add some serious heft to the Liberals.
There are many Australians now who feel shut out of the debate, who don't feel they're respected enough or respectable enough to put their views on the table, or even to ask polite questions, and they therefore increasingly feel alienated and left out. One of the great problems, of course, is that we've got this stultifying, what's now called political correctness, invading our public life. So there are all sorts of things you're not meant to talk about, or all sorts of positions you're meant to take that bar you from arguing hard questions or asking hard questions and looking for polite and reasonable answers. I'm worried that we're becoming very easily persuaded in Australia. We've actually now allowed ourselves to believe that our foundations, the well springs of ideas and of nourishment for the mind even, and our moral compass that came from our Christian heritage, somehow now that's being written off as at best irrelevant or worst as dangerous.
More importantly for me though is Anderson's not just an able man on policy, he's a warrior when it comes to the issues of culture and values that too many of the current Liberal team from the PM down want to shy away from defending.
I notice they're saying in France that being woke, we're too woke and that's affecting democracy and debate. Do you think we're too woke?
I think there's a lot of talk about all this, but you know what? Right now, what people care about, what I care about, is their health and their jobs.
Yeah, true.
And I'm just focused on that. And if people want to talk about woke, and if they're woke enough or not woke enough, or they're too woke, or, you know, who cares?
Who cares? We care. You care. I care. John Anderson cares. And on Anderson, he may have been out of public life for some time, but that doesn't preclude him going back into the Parliament. He's a fit 64, 18 years younger than the bloke who's just become the US president. For the past 13 years, he's not only been running the significant family farm, but he's chaired a serious company. And lately, he's been hosting a series of podcasts that have so far been watched some 15 million times here and around the world. In terms of character, well, he's a rock-solid traditional conservative with a preference for small business and family and values, institutions that have stood the test of time. He's certainly far more representative of the National Party's base than the euthanasia supporting, abortion extending, climate change arguing current crop of National Party types in the New South Wales upper house, to say the least. Going into the Senate means that Anderson's there to serve, not to plot. Realistically, he couldn't be the party leader from the upper house, so he's no threat to the current leader, Michael McCormack. And that shouldn't unsettle colleagues, except for the fact, of course, he's vastly more experienced than any of them and far more capable than most of them. And to be honest, that's one of the biggest problems we have in politics today. No leader likes to be outshone. So most of them are happy to back in the ordinary or mediocre candidate rather than someone truly exceptional, lest that appointment be a threat. Indeed, very few leaders have the magnanimity to appreciate colleagues who are at least as capable as they are. Why do you think McCormack has Matt Canavan on the backbench? Why did Malcolm Turnbull keep Tony Abbott on the backbench? And why did Scott Morrison keep him there in exile as well? Too often, people of ability are held back by leaders that fear the competition, which means the Anderson move will be quite a test for both McCormack and for the Prime Minister. McCormack shouldn't be anxious, given he's going into the wrong house. And once he's there, Morrison should insist on putting Anderson on the front bench, despite him saying, Anderson, that he's not seeking that. Does anyone think John Anderson wouldn't be a better Defence Minister than the current incumbent, for instance? I'm squarely of the view that we don't have enough big personalities in the Parliament, and Anderson would sure improve things for the centre-right. The challenge for both the current coalition leaders is for them to be bigger than they often seem, and not to publicly welcome Anderson's bid while doing everything they can behind the scenes to stop it happening. I don't know about you, but Anderson might just encourage a few other Conservative warriors to take up their weapons again. And given where we are in this war and identity politics, that wouldn't be a half bad thing, would it?